Due to my spies in China, I just heard that Mercedes isn't even running on full engine mode at the moment.
Whoa. So you're telling me that your spies are telling you that Mercedes have got an awful lot more to give? Lewis Hamilton, let's celebrate that man for a second. Finally.
Yeah.
And he's got a podium.
And the racing, again, with Charles Leclerc, wheel to wheel, bellissimo.
The shaking, the vibrations on that Aston Martin car. Fernando Alonso is having to take his hands off of the steering wheel, wring them out before putting his hands in the car. It's a mess. Does this damage Adrian Newey's legacy in any way?
Yes.
Well, we are back again. It is the Pit Talk podcast, powered by Ethara. Millie Miglia are home once again, but you will notice that my partner in crime, Robert Doornbos, he's not here. Robert, you've got some explaining to do. Where are you?
Yeah, mate, I would have loved to be there. You know, we kicked off the season in a great way at Emilia and at the Australian Grand Prix, but you know what's going on in the Middle East. I got a bit of a stressful wife and children at the house, so they really needed to escape. Happy wife, happy life. So we left. We took the plane. We got lucky enough to take a flight to South Africa. But I've been watching the race from a distance, of course, just like you. And luckily the technology is there that we can do it like this, you know?
Yeah, I tell you, you're looking good. And I had a little haircut and a shave just for you today.
You went to the wind tunnel.
Well,
that's another 0.2 of a second easily.
Did.
Huh?
You know, we're celebrating a Kimi Antonelli, youngest ever driver on pole. And I thought to myself, I better knock off 10 years. Hence why I went to the barber. And you're not bleeding here to appreciate it. I'm gutted.
You look stunning, mate. You look absolutely amazing. And back in shape. What about the race? Did you enjoy it after Australia?
You know what, Rob? And I already know where you're going with this. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to say it for what it's worth. I am thoroughly enjoying what I'm seeing. I'm not necessarily enjoying the fact that we didn't see the two McLaren boys even start. They had issues with their car. So again, for the second week running, Oscar Piastri doesn't complete a single lap in a Grand Prix. I'm not enjoying Gabriel Bortoleto not starting. I'm not enjoying Alex Albon not starting. But the racing itself, that opening 10, 15 laps again, Rob, it's edge of the seat stuff.
Yeah. Did you know that the McLaren's not starting? That was the last time that happened was like Bruce McLaren in the 60s or something, a long time ago. But yeah, no. I enjoy the racing. I don't say the overtaking, because the overtaking, I think it's terrible. If you look at it, how George Russell just blasts by on the straight like he's in a Formula 1 and the Ferrari's in a Formula 2 car. That's hard to accept from a driver perspective, that you're not going for the late braking moves. Luckily, we've seen a few fantastic racing moments with the comeback kid of the season, Lewis Hamilton. He's driving his balls off in the Ferrari. You know, the new regulations seem to suit his driving style. So the Ferrari battle was amazing. Obviously the Kimi Antonelli story is amazing, but you know, 7, 8 cars not finishing, some not starting. Formula 1 is still in a difficult position at the moment.
Right, we're going to get to it all, but I've cottoned on to a little theme, Rob. I want to proper kickstart this episode. I've got another quiz question for you. And so far, you've been knocking these out the park. But are you ready for this?
I am.
Baseball bat at the ready. Right, Kimi Antonelli, winner of the Grand Prix in China.
Yeah.
The last Italian to win a Grand Prix. Do you know the answer?
Giancarlo Fisichella. Boom. 20 years ago.
See, I can never beat you, Rob.
Yeah, no. I raced Giancarlo, you know. So I'm doing the Mille Miglia rally with him in this summer in Italy, and so I've been witnessing, you know, Italians not being in Formula 1 for, you know, 2 decades almost, or not being competitively in Formula 1. So can you imagine the party that is now ongoing in Italy? They must be so proud.
And the champion that year was?
20 years ago, in 2006, that must have been, who was it? No, it was Alonso.
It was Fernando Alonso. We will get to him as well. I mean, there's so many talking points from this race, Robert. I mean, ultimately, to your point, Kimi Antonelli, victor, first Italian in 20 years, still just 19 years of age, an incredible drive over the piece from him this weekend. George Russell second, Lewis Hamilton with a first podium. From what you're seeing, and we touched on it after race one, this Mercedes, it is undoubtedly the car to beat.
Definitely, but on all levels, not only on the engine side, but also aerodynamically, also mechanically. I mean, the way they treat their tires, they actually were thinking about the one stop, and it proves, you know, how they just in all different situations have the best package. And last year I said it already, you know, Max is going to Mercedes. They were very close in closing this deal because I knew, what the information that I got as well, that Mercedes would be the best engine for sure. And then knowing that their chassis side, that you never know how good they interpreted the rules. But with their engine, they have such a competitive advantage already in qualifying, going from Q2 to Q3. They just have this extra power. They used to call it the party mode, but it's still in Mercedes DNA to install this in the engine. So due to my spies in China, I just heard that Mercedes isn't even running on full engine mode at the moment, that they still have something in the back pocket. So yeah, they're dominating this championship for sure.
Whoa. So you're telling me that your spies are telling you that McLaren have got an awful lot more Mercedes have got an awful lot more to give.
They have more to give. They're not running the engine to the limit. They're not pushing the boundaries at the moment. They know what are their moments that they have to shine. So from when one of the cars or both cars make it to Q2, they get this extra map and the engine will just perform better in Q3. And that's about 4 to 5 tenths and some tracks, you know. So that's only qualifying. In the race, they cannot run this mode, obviously, all race long. But they have something in the back pocket that they don't need to stretch the engine as much as Red Bull is doing, for example, with their powertrain when Max had a hydraulic failure.
Yeah, you're killing us here, Robert. You're telling us that the most dominant team in the opening 2 weeks are essentially sandbagging. That's what you're telling us.
Not sandbagging, because they're definitely pushing. They have to push to stay ahead of the Ferraris, but they have something in the back pocket. And it's up to Ferrari to find out what it is in qualifying mode, so they can push their engine even further. But that's also the charm of Formula One. Ferrari, for example, chose to build a smaller turbo, which means they can spin it up faster and they have a better launch of the line. Well, that's proved already in the past 3 Grand Prix starts that we have witnessed in Australia, the sprint and the Grand Prix this morning, that Ferrari is obviously the best car of the line. But then in the race, then the Mercedes looks a bit more powerful down the long straight. So it's it's a bit give or take, but that's also the charm of F1.
There was a little wobble, Robert. I was thinking about you. 3 laps from the end, he's got a 9.5 second lead. Does Kimi?
I felt
and then
it.
He's turning in.
I never won. I've never
up.
won a Grand Prix, of course, in Formula One, but I've won my races in IndyCar, Formula 3, or Formula 2, and the first one in a new series is the big one, because everybody will say the monkey is off your back and more success will come automatically afterwards. But to lose the concentration, knowing that you have the 7-second gap and just to miss your braking point, it's a concentration thing. It's just your mind wandering off like, hey, the first one is almost there. That feels great. I worked so hard for it. So then you need a strong engineer that just sort of gets you back into the zone. And Kimi recovered quickly, but he lost 2 seconds in that one mistake.
Yeah, he did. I did enjoy Bono. It's Peter Bonington, his race engineer, who popped on the radio and just said, very deadpan, okay, Kimi, let's just get this home. Don't need any fireworks. Just bring this baby home. And he was incredibly emotional, was Kimi, at the end as well. And why wouldn't he be? 19 years of age, 2nd season in Formula One, and his first victory. Just a beautiful drive from start to finish.
Well, a very mature drive for sure. I mean, the way he recovered his whole weekend. Let's not forget the sprint start. He bogged his start. He just faulted it completely. Then he was in the midfield. He almost made the rookie error, hitting Isaac Hadjar in the hairpin. It cost him a 10-second penalty. He recovered from it due to safety car. But those are the things that you're going to see. Okay, it's still a rookie in that aspect of having a championship winning car and trying to extract the maximum out of it. And today you saw a very mature drive from pole position, not leading all the way, but most of the race, and then getting fastest lap and bringing it home. It's perfect.
I watching it and just the new nuances, we're all getting used to them, Robert. I think this second week of the new regulations, I was settling into understanding the managing of the battery, different drivers using it in different. I think that's a unique aspect. I'm sure most fans like me as the season progresses. I know Max isn't necessarily a fan, but I think that will be an aspect that I think we're all going to fall in love with, where the different drivers are utilising it and where they can find their little advantages. I think that has been, I know you're not necessarily on board with this. I know you feel that it needs to be flat out all the time, but I've enjoyed the nuances of it so far.
No, of course, from a racer's perspective, you're on the max side straight away. Why not pushing it to the limit? I've been watching videos from 2004, with the V10 screaming and then driving on the limit and over the limit. There were no track limits. The sport evolved over all these years, and you have to understand from a different perspective from stakeholders like the OEMs that yes, you have to experience new type of engines to make sure it's interesting enough for them to keep pouring in hundreds of millions of dollars every year, and use this technology for the road cars. So, but from a fan perspective, I find it very difficult to explain that some of the drivers cannot even start a race. You see Alex Albon standing in the pit lane watching a race. You see Norris, defending champion, not even getting a fair shot. You see Max Verstappen having 3 terrible starts on that has nothing to do with the talent of the driver. And then the sport becomes too technical and too much engineering dependent for the driver to showcase his talent. So that is something slowly, yes, the teams will adjust, but that was the minor side from today.
Well, on that, because I think there might be a lot of fair weather fans relatively new to the sport, that might be asking this question, that 2 races in, the fact, and I appreciate these cars, the engineering is incredibly complex, but when you're not getting cars starting on the grid, it's not a good look, which bodes the question, have the regulation changes ultimately flummoxed too many of the engineers and the teams? Ultimately, are the regulations a little bit too complicated? Because you've got to be frank, yes, Mercedes looking good, Ferrari looking good, but for the overall sport, teams not getting off the start line ain't a good look.
No, that's any good look. So that can hurt your sport in general. And even with McLaren, that one car doesn't get out of the pit lane, but then it almost looked like Zach was on the radio. Oscar, it's Zach. I think it's only fair you don't start either, for this Grand Prix, because Lando doesn't start. You almost think this is his papaya rules all over again. So you get people that are starting making the jokes out of it on the internet. And let's not forget, it's the pinnacle of motor racing. It's the fastest, the best sport on the planet. But yeah, you have to make it work also for everybody. So yes, if you're Williams and you make a mistake in building the car and it's 28 kilos too heavy, your mistake. But if the engine and battery rules are too complicated for even teams to start their engines, then you have a problem.
Yeah, we saw Max Verstappen, of course, late on in the race. I think it was lap 46, I think it was. He encountered problems. Isaac Hadjar, we've talked about it on this podcast. In fact, the Red Bull are building their own engine for this year. Again, though, frustration for Max, frustration for Red Bull. And again, it's another weekend where missed opportunities and again, the sobering kind of reality that they are quite some way back, certainly from the top 2 in Mercedes and Ferrari.
Yeah, they're a long way back. I think this is the worst car Max has ever driven for Red Bull in his 12-year Formula 1 career. The car just looks off. It doesn't turn when you're on board. He just misses all the apexes. If he wants to try on the outside, he gets a wobble, he gets a snap oversteer. He goes off the track a few times. If the engine doesn't work, we'll understand, we'll respect that Red Bull took this choice to build their own engines, which is very a powerful choice to do, to take it up to the big boys like Ferrari and Mercedes. And if the engine fails, okay, but if the chassis and the aerodynamics don't gel and there's no grip in the car, then you have problem over problem over problem, and it becomes not enjoyable to look at, or let alone to drive that car if you're a 4-time world champion.
Yeah, Verstappen in the wars. Another fella, Lewis Hamilton, a man that we go back to 2021 here in Abu Dhabi, the great kind of battle between those two fellas. Lewis Hamilton, let's celebrate that man for a second. Finally, what is it, race 26 of his Ferrari career.
Yeah.
And he's got a podium.
Yeah, I mean, it was his weekend already. Last year in China, he got the sprint race pole and victory, which was sort of his highlight. Well, it was his highlight of the season. And I think afterwards he just pulled the plug literally after Abu Dhabi and said, I'm gonna, find the Lewis that has won all these records in the past and find myself a new girlfriend, which he also did. And then he came back and he's been on it from the first lap in Australia. He looked comfortable. He talks to the press in the way we know him. Positivity around him, and the racing again with Charles Leclerc, wheel to wheel, bellissimo.
Just on that then, with Lewis finishing third, what does that now do in the Ferrari garage? Because finally he's getting one over Charles Leclerc. That was a lovely little battle. That was actually for the mid part of the race. That was what I was watching. That was the most intriguing aspect. We saw Kimi out in front. Once George had got past the Ferraris, he then was into, he built up a healthy lead over the two Ferrari boys. Hamilton and Charles, really, really good battle. And Hamilton, he's not won many of those personal battles against his teammate over the last year or so.
No, he did not, and it's still a fight who's going to be the number one driver. I mean, they both obviously have the talent to be the number one driver, but you can also have a boring team boss in Frederic Vasseur who says you're not allowed to race and try to follow the Mercedes. It didn't help their race time in general, but it was edge of the seat stuff. I was really shouting behind the TV, yes, this is what we want to see. The drivers pushing each other to the limit. And of course, Kimi was saying thank you because he just saw in his mirror the Ferrari disappear into the distance. And then later on, his teammate obviously finished second. But, this is how Formula One should be, especially at the start of the season. Fight for your position in the team.
Yeah, and I did enjoy George on the radio kind of saying, damn, the Ferrari is fast in all of the right places. So that is encouraging because, we sit here and again, we're only 2 races into now a 22 race season, and we'll get to the reasons for that in just a few minutes. But when I'm watching, I'm thinking, wow, Mercedes will dominate this year. But hearing George say, well, wait a minute, Ferrari, very fast in the corners. That's what I'm reading. They're great off the start line. That's encouraging because we need Ferrari to mount a bit of a challenge. Otherwise, it's going to be a cakewalk for Mercedes this year.
No, and that's what you get. Like after qualifying, you see Lewis Hamilton as sort of an Inspector Gadget walking by the Mercedes, seeing if you can see some differences, noticing, Vettel used to do that in the past as well. You're putting on his glass and trying to look for the competitive edge they have. And it's all about a trade-off. Thank God they're not disappearing into the distance, Mercedes, with a 20-30 second lead over everybody else. But the top 4 were definitely in a league of their own today.
Yeah, we saw that, Lewis Hamilton. That went viral. Just had a little nose at the back end of the Mercedes car. Ultimately, Rob, I mean, how much do you read into that? How much is Lewis? What's he checking? How much really is he gleaming from a little scan of the Mercedes?
It's also mind games, there are photographers that are working full time for different Formula One teams. They get paid to make with their super lenses shots on track when the car is on track. So of course they can see more with their eye, but it's just from a driver perspective intimidating that you're looking into the car of the competitor. Don't forget, you're not allowed to touch it. Remember, you get a $50,000 fine if you touch the competitor's car. For those guys, it's like a 1 hour work, but still, it's still 50K.
I know it's only race 2, but I have had a little scan of the Constructors' Championship table, Robert. 98 points for Mercedes, 67 if you're interested for Ferrari, 18 for McLaren. I mean, that's rather galling in these early stages.
Yeah, I mean, it's galling and painful to look at. From a driver's championship, Max can forget about the World Championship. He's definitely not going to add a 5th title to his resume. Other drivers that obviously are in the lead are the top 4. The McLaren boys are lots of points behind already. It can change in a season, but looking at the dominance of a constructor like Mercedes, they're going to be hard to beat. They will definitely wrap up this championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty galling. 2 races in. We've got a fortnight now to Japan. And then, of course, the big news that kind of came through at the back end of the weekend, which of course at the same time as the Chinese Grand Prix running this weekend, is the news that April 12th and April 19th, back-to-back races here in the Middle East, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. No real surprise, Rob, given what we're kind of enduring right now in the region.
No.
Various issues, and very well documented ones, with the ongoing war between the US, Israel, Iran, and the fallout from it, means we've not got any races. Are you a little surprised that they haven't looked to put on replacement races in those time slots?
Yeah, first of all, safety first. Everybody that's involved in the war, it's terrible, and Formula One is definitely not priority then. But if we look at the from a fan perspective, the Jeddah race is mega, fastest street circuit on the calendar. Bahrain, obviously, we had the winter testing, so it would have been nice to see who does well there. But it is what it is. We have to stay safe all, and these choices are way above our position to decide. I think Formula One has the obligation, not only about their drivers, teams, but definitely fans around the world. They cannot afford any of those risky moves to push ahead with this Grand Prix. So it's unfortunate. April, a month of no racing. Some teams will be happy because they can go back to the dyno and back to the simulator and try to find some performance, because there's no, you're not allowed to physically test Formula One cars, but you can work back in the factory. It is what it is. We won't see each other for a month. That's definitely very disappointing. But then again, the championship is shorter, so it becomes even more of a priority for Mercedes to wrap it off. Of course, only 22 races then.
Yeah, I'm reading it's going to cost Formula One in the tune of £100 million. I mean, listen, that sounds a little insensitive. Money's the least of the problems right now, given what's going on here in the region, but it's a huge blow. I mean, you've said it there. I think one of my friends remarked over the weekend that it's a convenient inconvenience for some teams. I look at Aston Martin, gives McLaren more time, I guess, Red Bull more time to fine-tune their operations. But, ultimately, as an F1 fan, we've got a fortnight now to Japan and then 5 weeks without a race. It's not great.
It's not great, is it? It is what it is, and we have to accept it, of course, but it's not great. Definitely not. And, teams like Aston Martin, they will be happy about it. But then again, if you cannot physically test the car on track, you don't learn that much only from the simulator. You also need to get the mileage in.
Did you see the footage? I'm sure you did. It's been trending a lot. You've made it right there. The shaking, the vibrations on that Aston Martin car. I mean, the clips, and we'll maybe share them up on our social medias. Fernando Alonso is having to take his hands off of the steering wheel, wring them out before putting his hands back on, just due to the vibrations in the car. It's a mess.
How can you, with all the resources in place, all the brilliant minds, not alone Adrian Newey, but this whole engineering team, state-of-the-art facilities, strong driver, you have the engine package with Honda, and you mess it up so badly that the driver has to come in due to the fact he cannot handle the vibrations anymore. Vibrando Alonso, I saw already on the Instagram funny pages. So it's crazy if you think about it.
Does this? I'm going to say something. I might land you in trouble here, Rob. So I apologise in advance. Does this damage Adrian Newey's legacy in any way? This hot mess of a car.
Yes. I mean, it's also strange. Adrian Newey wasn't even in China. You're a team principal. Why are you not in China? I know that there's chaos, but it means like he doesn't even bother to go to the Grand Prix because, whatever they learn there, I have to be in the factory. I have to push Honda. I have to push my engineers to get out of this shit. So yeah, they are in big trouble. And Adrian, yes, the pressure was on. You get paid a fortune. Your resume proves that you can do it in the past. But can you still do it? No, this is probably the deepest, worst position he has ever been in as an engineer.
So on that, because I know a lot of people listen to you for your insight, your knowledge, with what you're seeing in mind, 7 weeks now, there's only one race. By the time we get into race 4, is this Aston Martin going to be making big leaps forward? Or do we as F1 fans need to just accept, Robert, that this is a mess of a car and they ain't getting out of this mess for a long time yet?
I'm telling you, within 1 month or 2 months, you're going to get press releases saying, you know, Aston Martin will just focus on 27. It's all been very disappointing. Just a write-off. It's just going to be an Olympic thought to go to all the races and do your thing. But it's no, this is not going to be any glamorous moment for them this year, for sure not.
So you're essentially, I mean, it's quite a telling kind of statement, that, Rob, that Aston Martin 2 races in, we can forget about them.
You can throw away the season. It's done. You know, the gap is crazy big. It makes no sense if you cannot even do the mileage. First of all, you need reliability to think about performance. Performance without reliability is useless. They don't have both. They don't have neither of them. So in Formula One terms, you're done and dusted. Go sit in the corner, wait for your time to shine again next year.
Which begs the question, just what is going on inside the corridors of power at Aston Martin? You know, there's a famous expression in football, Sir Alex Ferguson, there's the hairdryer treatment, there's the flying teacups, of course, legendary Manchester United boss. Is there going to be a few teacups flying around right now at Aston Martin?
Yes, and you would almost say, you know, the man who's finally, at the end, who's responsible is Lawrence Stroll. I mean, lots of investment has been poured in. He's the man that took over. He had the vision of becoming a world championship winning team within 5 to 6 years. Well, I think he's in year 5 now after takeover. So this should have been the year that he was challenging for wins and even the championship. And he's not. He's challenging for last place with Cadillac.
It kind of beggars belief, you know, just thinking the idea that Adrian Newey would not be in China. The idea that Adrian Newey, chief engineer, would also take on the team principal role. It seemed to me, Rob, they were set up to fail from the word go this year. Decision after decision looks like the wrong one.
Yeah, and it almost looks like there's no individual bigger than the whole organization. That works not only in a Formula One team, that works in any organization. And that it's almost, there was focused too much on sort of the 3 pillars, which is Fernando Alonso, Adrian Newey, and Lawrence Stroll as the boss. And you need more than that, you know. Look at the Galacticos in Real Madrid when they had all these superstars there. They were not winning everything. Yes, you need some good people in place, but not necessarily all focus on one guy. And I think the pressure on Adrian was huge when he left Red Bull with his, his record of winning championships. But yeah, if you ask in 25 to Aston Martin guys, I don't want to do anything with this car. I'm focusing solely on 2026. This is going to be our year. And you start the season like this. I mean, how painful for everybody that put all their efforts and believe in you.
I tell you what, Rob, I'm loving the comparison with the Galacticos of Real Madrid. So what I deduce from that is Aston Martin are missing their old Claude Makelele, someone to tie it all together. Big names do not make a successful team.
No, definitely not. That works in any sport, and I think Formula One also proved it. You need everything to gel and to communicate with each other, and obviously there's something terribly wrong at Aston Martin.
Do you feel, and it's a nice little kind of link here, because whilst Aston Martin go through their trials and tribulations, do you feel the chemistry with Lewis and Ferrari is now starting to come together? Or am I just putting 2 and 2 together and spitting out kind of 6 here? Because it looks to me as if, and maybe it's because Ferrari are doing better, but Lewis, the communication that they were getting on the radio, it seems a little bit more in sync.
Yeah, and it's all due to results, right? If you have only shitty results, you can have a great vibe in the team, but who cares? It's the results are coming, but it's also due to the fact that you're willing to change. So what Lewis did at the end of the year, he said goodbye to Riccardo Adami, which was his race engineer, his performance engineer. We're not gelling, we're not going to work together anymore. He said goodbye to a few people in his close circle. And he just wanted a reset. And even a 7-time world champion, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, is still on the game like he is, trying to extract the maximum out of himself physically and mentally, then that's a great result already. That what we have seen in only 2 Grand Prix until now, that Lewis is back. Lewis can fight, Lewis can challenge his teammate over a single lap in qualifying, he can challenge him in race pace. he can actually fight for a championship if he's given the tools to do so.
And on the subject of a relationship with a race engineer, Robert, the relationships that you had with your race engineers over the years, and ultimately, and this might be perhaps a little too simplistic, but is that a simple case? You need to get out and have a few bevies. Does that help you kind of foster that relationship that you need?
That helps, I think, in any relationship. But I definitely took my engineers and mechanics out for dinner at the start of the season, just to get everybody outside of the racetrack connected. And then during the race weekends, you have to work closely together. You have to understand each other, so don't communicate too much. What we heard with Lewis and his engineer last year, there was too much talk about shit on the radio instead of just being to the point. You don't need to tell Lewis Hamilton to push harder if he's in qualifying. He knows what qualifying is all about, right? So that's insecurity from an engineer to a driver, not knowing what he wants to hear or how he can perform better. But definitely I did as well. I had some great relationship with engineers that I only had to say one thing, and he definitely understood straight away what I needed from the car. And we went faster and we got a better result. If we did a race in Las Vegas, we went to a strip club at night. That helps as well for the relationship, for sure, once you're there. And if you go to other places, always celebrate the successes together, but also the losses. Because if you shouldn't be too brave enough to say that you messed up, or even if the engineering department messed up. You work together as a team. In Champ Car and Formula One, it's all the same.
Yeah, and there's no finer kind of example of that right now than Mercedes. We touch on it. Easy enough to say Kimi Antonelli's your driver of the weekend, given the fact his first pole at just over 19 years and 200 days, the youngest ever in Formula One history to be on pole. He wasn't the youngest to win a Grand Prix. Do you know who was?
Max, yeah. Max was very young, of course. And I think the rules have changed afterwards that you need to be at least 18 to make your debut in Formula One. So I think that stat of Max will remain in place as the youngest Grand Prix victory. But even on pole position side, I mean, to 19 years and having a car that is fast enough to get a pole is already very special, because the previous guy that had the youngest age for pole position was Sebastian Vettel, but there was also strange circumstances in the wet or something. So anything can happen, but in normal conditions, I don't think this record will be broken anytime soon.
So Kimi, one of the drivers undoubtedly. Anyone else that caught your eye across the race?
Well, yeah, Kimi was definitely the story, the comeback kid of the weekend, the way he matured in the Grand Prix. I find that Arvin Lindblad, the sort of the rookie hero in Melbourne, scoring points on debut, was the leading man at VCarb, and now it changed completely. He spun 2 times in the Grand Prix. He was messy with his overtakes. So it just proves that F1 is every weekend you have to be on it. And if you're overconfident, which in my opinion, it looked a little bit like Arvin Lindblad thought it was, what is this all about, Formula One? I scored points on debut. And this weekend in the race you spin, in the sprint race you spin, and it looked more messy. So sort of a wake-up call for him, I think. Isaac Hadjar, the same, they were racing in lap 1 like it was the last lap of the Grand Prix. I mean, this is also something you have to understand as a driver coming into the sport, that there's more than the first lap. And if you ever make a mistake, look at Oliver Behrman. He made a mistake, he narrowly avoided Isaac Hadjar, but he still came back to finish 5th. And that shows his maturity in the sport. So Oliver Behrman, definitely a big plus.
Yeah, I like him. I've got to say, Robert,
Yeah.
I really like him. 20 years of age. We talked about it last week. A lot of young upstarts. So it's an increasingly younger man's sport. Ollie Behrman, I like the temperament he's got. I think there's something pretty special there.
Yeah, and how he fits in that car. I mean, he's one of the tallest guys on the grid, definitely close to 190. So it's a really, and even his teammate Esteban Ocon is like Pink Panther, tall guy. But he's showing Esteban how it's done at the team at the moment. And I think Ferrari already have a contract in place for Ollie Behrman that if Lewis ever decides to leave in the coming years, then that is his seat.
I'm going to say something quite controversial here, Robert, but I can't help but think, I've got to be careful with this.
You always
Kimi
say something
Antonelli.
controversial. Come on, Chris.
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli, he's a Ferrari driver in the making.
Ooh.
Listen, Mercedes have given him the start. but Kimi Antonelli belongs at Ferrari, no?
Kimi Antonelli belongs at the guy who gave him the chance to be in this position, and I think Toto has a very strong contract in place that Kimi is not going anywhere anytime soon. But yes, it would be a dream story, an Italian guy driving a Ferrari and winning or fighting for a championship. Very romantic story, Chris, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, Mercedes fans, you can rest easy on that front. Right, we've got a couple of weeks, Rob. We're hopefully that you negotiate and navigate your way through the safari that you've got planned in the coming days, and that I do see you back here.
Yeah, I want to be back, of course. And the Grand Prix of Japan, another, the pearl of the calendar, if you ask me, from a driver's perspective. It's high downforce, it's fast, it's flowing. You need to have big balls basically to be fast in qualifying. Definitely a track where the young superstars can shine. And hopefully we can do it together, man. It will calm down a little bit in the Middle East, and I can get a flight back to Dubai.
So just to be clear, you need big cojones in qualifying at Suzuka. On that basis, where did you qualify when you raced there?
I think I forgot to breathe until the last corner, and then I was sort of seeing, all stars. And the best one is when I qualified 16th in the McHardy, which was a hell of an achievement back then. And if I might say so, and there was a gentleman standing next to me, and his name was Kimi Räikkönen. So I thought, okay, at least I beat Kimi Räikkönen in the qualifying session, but that was only because he crashed the car in qualifying the day before, because he was still hungover from his trip to Las Vegas the few days before that. And that was the moment, Chris, I realized I'm fortunate enough to drive a Formula One car fast, but I'm definitely not as talented as this guy next to me, because when the lights went out, Chris, the only thing I saw from the McLaren was, and he was gone. And then after 1 hour, I got my race engineer, who was Riccardo Adami, previously worked with Lewis at Ferrari. He said, Robert, blue flags, Kimi coming. And the moment I looked to the right, he was already passing me on the left, together with Giancarlo Fisichella, who was leading the race. And Kimi was chasing him down to the final lap of the Grand Prix in Suzuka. And then he overtook him into turn 1 on the outside, and he won the Grand Prix. That was the moment I took my head off, definitely my head off for Kimi Räikkönen. And I finished P12. Super.
Yeah. So you P12, and the bloke who started behind you
went on
to win the race.
But it was only the car. Right. Only the car.
You've told me many times off record and on this podcast that Kimi Räikkönen is as quick as there is. Right, last few for you, Rob. What I want to know from you, because we started this pod and you were a bit down in the dumps, not quite sure you're massively convinced about what you're seeing thus far. I'm open-minded. I've liked the races. In your opinion, Rob, and Max will be in the year, and all the other drivers have opinions, what needs to change? We're expecting some alterations if it doesn't come into place in Japan. I think it certainly will with a 5-week gap after that. What would you like to see just tweaked a little to make the product that little bit more, better for the purists like yourself?
We just need time. To be honest, there's nothing you can change. These rules and regulations have been decided years ago. You're not going to say, okay, we're going to lower the battery power, because it would make Formula One look more stupid on lap times. They're already slower than last year's cars. They will be 3 seconds slower than last year's cars if you take away more of the battery power. So it's all has to do with getting to know the systems, working with the system, making sure that at least 22 cars start the Grand Prix. That it was my worry today, that doesn't look good, if the cars are not even able to start the race. And that the competition might close up a little bit on the top 4, because now the top 4, great racing. I really enjoy it. Keep doing what they're doing. I don't like the overtakes on the straight. That's a bit too much with the battery. But the wheel-to-wheel racing, come on, that's mega. And let's take it from there. Time, I think, is the most important.
You don't like the overtaking on the straights. Why? Is it just too much? Push a button? Is it too gimmicky?
It's too. You don't even have a license, and you can overtake on the straight. It's just pressing a button and just you fly past. There's not even. You don't even block. Normally in the past, when there was a guy behind you in the slipstream, you could decide where he was going and try to defend. And now it was just a flyby. So that I don't like. Formula One and racing should be. To go for a gap which is really not there, but try to go for it, or to outbrake somebody, or go around the outside. And And we've seen a few of those actions today, thank God. But the overtaking just because you have more battery is not my liking.
Right, let us know, anyone watching or listening to this podcast. We do welcome your thoughts. Do give us a follow. The Pit Talk Pod, both on YouTube, are available on all your downloadable podcast platforms. And then, of course, do give us a follow on our Instagram page as well. I'd love to get the thoughts of our listeners and our viewers on this because, yeah, listen, I go back to it. I've got an open mind, Robert.
Yeah.
It is a bit wacky races. I come back to it, Super Mario Kart. But it's better that than some of the processional races that we've seen. I'm really intrigued. Put it like this. I'm intrigued about the current setup when Monte Carlo comes around.
Yeah, Monte Carlo. I mean, as somebody asked me this morning, a journalist asked me, well, do you think Ferrari can win a Grand Prix this year? I said, definitely they can win a Grand Prix. And I expect them to do well in a place like Monaco. Why? Because they have a great track record there. Charles Leclerc won it, obviously, last year. But can you imagine if one of the Ferraris qualify in the front row and the Mercedes gets pole? For sure, even though you only have 150 meters to turn one, the Ferrari will beat the Mercedes off the line because they have the smaller turbo, they have the better launch. And that is the good part about these new regulations, how you interpret them and how you make them work for yourself. So yes, Ferrari's going to win a few races.
Yeah, well, we're here every week for it. We will be commenting, we'll be speculating, we will be throwing out our own thoughts and musings as we go. I'm looking forward to having you back here. I've got to say thank you for dressing up for the occasion, Robert. You've clearly got plans tonight because you've worn a shirt for me, so thank you for that.
I'm going on a safari, so I thought I'll do cover up the colors that they don't see me because with tigers walking around, it's not my thing, but I'm going to enjoy it.
It's not. Tell me what, more scared of the tigers or jumping into a Formula One car?
More scared of the tigers. Would love to jump into a Formula One car.
Hey, listen, as you said at the start of this podcast, happy wife, happy life.
Oh, that's the tiger you meant.
Happy,
yeah,
okay?
I'm more scared of her than the Formula One car.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. Right, just a reminder, of course, the podcast powered by the good folk at Ithara, 3rd to the 6th of December 2026. All roads do indeed lead to Yas Marina Circuit. Tickets, concert tickets, upgrades, all available now. AbuDhabiGP.com. Get on that because as we tell you every single week, it is the hottest ticket in town. It was a sellout and has been every single edition since 2009. And you and I know it, Robert. It's going to be a sellout this year as well.
And they have a title to defend, Promoter of the Year. So they want to, they raise the bar very high for any other promoter out there on the calendar. But great event. Looking forward to that. Luckily, it's still 20 Grand Prix we can enjoy together. We have to miss out in the Middle East ones in Jeddah and Bahrain. But stay safe. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Tom, man, you stay safe with that tiger and your missus as well. And we'll catch you back here in Milli Miglia in the next edition of the Pit Talk Pod. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, buddy. Shake and bake.
Shake and bake. That is Robert Doornbos at AbuDhabiGP.com, folks. I'll say it again. That is where you can get all your tickets for the Etihad Airways Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Big thanks to the team here at Milli Miglia. The podcast back after the Japanese Grand Prix, but it is victory for Kimi. Mercedes, they are the team to catch in 2026, no doubt about that. Ta-ra for now.